Good morning, you're welcome to the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Rene Paulson.
And I am Nyamgul Agaje. It's good to be here.
Well, it's Tuesday the 24th of June and the last Tuesday in June, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
We're wrapping things up now.
We're praying for Kenya this morning that tomorrow's protest that they're talking about may not lead to more bloodshed, because that's the thing that is causing them to protest in the first place. It started with a finance bill. They didn't like the protested, people died. Now they are going to protest not only that those people died, but the fact that people have died within the last few weeks because of police brutality and the government's not doing much. So as we hear of global war, may it not come to Kenya as well.
And I think it's time for Africa to make sure that, the people are safe. Because it's something that you always see in different African countries, police brutality, whereby they use the forces that they have to, manhandle the people, and that's not something that any country should be doing to their own citizens. So hopefully in Kenya, the protest doesn't lead to that.
And then in the world, we hope that Iran and America and Israel and Ukraine, all the people who are having these problems of war, should think twice and make sure that the war stops. We don't want another World War III at all.
That's what people are saying right now. Anyways, we're getting back to Nigeria. On today's breakfast, we'll be looking at several hot topics, one of which is petrol may rise to 1,000 naira as global oil prices surge. Much later in the show, discussing the fact that the federal government registered 6,000 inmates in push for national identity coverage. We'll also be taking the global stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies, as well as some top trending stories. But first, since it's the 24th of June, do you know about Upcycling Day? And have you ever tried to upcycle? Not recycle here now, upcycle. Yeah. Upcycle is turning something that you have, repurposing it. So you know how they say, your glass, like metal, whatever it is, maybe spraying it, making it something new. And old is gold, and gold is always good.
It's just big grammar. I think it's the same thing, something that ordinarily you would say is old, but you want to make it look better, right?
Yeah, make it look new.
It's like something that you think you don't have need for it, you want to throw it away, but you put it in another use. It's big grammar. But whatever it is, it's good to know that there are things that you don't have to live in vanity, so to speak, that you want to get everything fresh. Sometimes the old gets better.
Exactly. So that's why I say old is gold, and gold never goes out of style. So today's that day for you to say, you know what, I have this beautiful wood piece, I want to spray it, turn it into something new, and even a vase or something. Sometimes people use glass cups and just spray it maybe with gold or silver or whatever, and before you know it, you can turn it into a vase. And that's upcycling.
You could have some trainers, and then you decide that, okay, you know what, I don't want it to show the way it is now. You turn it into something that you use fabric and make it more beautiful. And all that.
I've seen a lot of ladies use their jeans, and then they turn it into like a top or a skirt or a jacket. Maybe all of your jeans, you put everything together, start to sew it together and make it into a jacket.
That is not poverty, it's creativity.
Exactly.
And making the best use of what you have. Don't be vain. That's what we're saying.
All right, let's move over to our top trending stories this morning. The first one says, hunger and poverty now national security threats. Nsa Ribadu warns. A national security advisor, Nsa Ribadu, has linked rising insecurity in Nigeria to widespread hunger and poverty, urging a comprehensive approach to address the root causes. Speaking at a security seminar in Abuja, Ribadu, represented by Major General Peter Mala, stressed that economic deprivation fuels violence, crime and instability, forming a vicious cycle that undermines national peace. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa echoed the concern, stating that regions like Benue, once food hubs, have been destabilized by conflict, displacing farmers and worsening food inflation. He called for major investments in grassroots agriculture, rural infrastructure, and youth retention in farming. Minister of Defense Alhaji Mohammed Badaru and Inec President Air Commodore Darlington Abdullahi, retired, also emphasized tackling poverty, unemployment, and exclusion through education, social inclusion, and economic empowerment, warning that neglected youth remain vulnerable to extremist recruitment. Spot on, well said. One of the things that we always say here is, I know a lot of people are terrorists and terrorism is bad, or having to steal or kidnap or anything, but most times an idle man is the devil's workshop. especially when you don't have food on your table and someone comes to recruit you and say, you know what, I can make your life better, do XYZ for me. That's why you start to see all of these youths, go into illegal activities, even fraud and whatnot. If we want to see a change, then you have to tackle things from the root cause. You're not just going to say stop doing that. Are you giving them an alternative, a better way of life, a better means of livelihood? Are you doing that for them? It's not just saying you're not to be doing this. When I'm hungry, I'm thinking of how to put food on my table. And I think it's so spot on, because when you say unemployment, these people, they have nothing. When you have nothing to lose, trust me, you say anything that comes by, I will definitely do that. So I think it's time for the government to start to prioritize employment, even though they had said that unemployment rate has declined, but there's still a lot of people without jobs. And even the jobs that you have, can it really meet your basic needs? Not necessarily. So if they tackle unemployment, they tackle poverty, not even the 75,000 naira they're giving to households or the little stipends that they give to you, tackle it properly, then we might start to see security get better in Nigeria. Yep.
I was thinking of what to respond when you were talking, but why was I thinking, oh, she will make a good mom? Why was I thinking that? Anyway, that out of my head right now. But everything about that report was, or that whatever he said was so spot on,
yeah.
Except one word, now. He said that hunger and poverty is now a national problem. It is not now. It has always been there. So what he should have been saying is that, see what our neglect has caused. Because we should have done this a long time ago. So let us, so that we know that these are solutions that we needed even yesterday. It's not like, okay, it has now become a problem, what do we do? So make it more urgent, because with the choice of words that you're using, this thing has been there for a long time. So if they didn't allow it to fester, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are right now. So they should do something really, really, really drastic about it. That is the state of emergency. Those kinds are the kinds of states of emergency that we want in this country, not just coming to remove one governor and get a hold of a state. And, what is the word we use? Colombian. The state for your party.
Yeah, you know how they just tell you that, oh, we need a proactive government. It seems like we're just saying things, like we just try to throw around words or anything. But that's what a proactive government would do. Would say, before we get to this point, how can we tackle it? You don't have to get there and then, they say prevention is better than cure, or provision store is better than cure. Whatever it is. But you have to prevent this. You're thinking for the people even before that problem arises. Because you don't want a situation whereby you are not, and guess what? Hunger, poverty, that's already one problem. Insecurity is another problem. Before you know it, it starts to build up. And you shouldn't even get to that point. But if you have a proactive government, they're already thinking of things like this and say, okay, what are the skill acquisition we can give to people? How can we transform the lives of Nigerians? How can we ensure that someone goes to bed and wake up in the morning and they have food on their table? How can we ensure that someone goes to bed and they even wake up in the first place, not that they are being killed at night? So these are the questions, pertinent questions that the government needs to ask. And if they need to start to do something, it's not just saying it like, throwing words in the air, oh, it's now a national security, whatever. No, it is doing something about it. And the question now is, are they going to have the willpower? Are they going to have that thing to say, yes, we will do something about it, not just making promises or not just making statements and nothing is being done?
Our government just thinks about one-sided solutions all the time. They don't think about how holistic a problem could be. Someone would be in the bushes terrorizing the people, and you're thinking about how to kill him or to capture him. You're not thinking about the reason why he went there in the first place, which could have been education, that he didn't have food on his table. And if you look at maybe the blueprint, whatever document they say Lagos State has been following since all these years and all that, I doubt if we have so much about agriculture. I doubt if we have so much about trying to make sure Lagos doesn't get submerged. Reports have said that, okay, in the next 50 years or in the year 2050, there's a possibility some parts of Lagos will sink. We are still seeing, if you go through the Third Mainland Bridge, they're still reclaiming land And water will always find its way. I don't know if that is part of the document, that's the part of the development and all that, but they're just thinking about reclaiming land, where they will build a road, where they will do this. Have they thought about what the people that will be living in this place will be eating? Have they thought about how much of their children need education and all those kinds of things? I don't think they think about that. They just think development. Development is building infrastructure here and there.
That's it.
What about stomach infrastructure? We were laughing when is it Ekiti governor in those days said stomach infrastructure. Well, it's a very, very important item in any kind of development, because he who has food to eat is the only one who can be at peace.
Ooh, I like that.
Anyway, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has rebuked the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, for what it termed an overreach into its internal matters. The party insists that Inec has no constitutional role in regulating routine meetings like its upcoming National Executive Committee next session scheduled for June 30, 2025. At a press briefing in Abuja, PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologunagba clarified that notifying INEC of the NEC meeting was a courtesy, not a legal obligation. He emphasized that the agenda does not involve the election of officers or candidates, which are the only activities requiring INEC oversight. Ologunagba further criticized INEC's acting secretary Halilu Aminu for assigning a false purpose to the meeting. He cited Supreme Court rulings affirming the party's autonomy in organizing its internal affairs, warning against any external interferences. Well, it could be that INEC is overreaching. I don't know. I don't know the constitutional provisions for that. Whether INEC, which is supposed to conduct election, also has the right to regulate parties and tell them what to do, because this is more like telling them what to do. But if that is not the case, that they shouldn't have that power, maybe there should be a body that should be looking into things like this, because PDP is having problems. So if you are holding NEC meeting and you're being recognized by INEC, what if there's another faction that is holding NEC meeting? So what are the parameters?
Just like what's happening in Labour Party.
Yeah, what are the things that will make INEC, for instance, or anybody that is supposed to regulate those kind of things, to recognize a faction as the authentic faction? Maybe that's what is playing out here. But things should be spelled out. If PDP has their house in order and they want to have a meeting, I'm not sure INEC should have any business telling them what to do.
And if that's the case, I mean, like you said, there should be a regulatory body to ensure that things go. But I think that still falls into INEC. But it's just putting, but it's just having to state it out there, you know, that okay, this is the reason why we're coming, right? We want to ensure, or maybe give them a memo, you know, ensure that you put your house in order, because we're seeing all of these parties, there's PDP, there's Labour Party, where they're having some, you know, ruckus, and before you know it, it just spills onto something else. Are you guys breaking up the party? Are you having a coalition?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be.
And INEC needs to know what's going on.
It shouldn't really be INEC. Maybe now it's in the INEC.
Yeah, but if there's a regulation body
I shouldn't tell my school when to have PTA. It should never.
Well, there's that too.
They shouldn't tell you when to have.
Because INEC has to be independent. There's the word independent is there for a reason. So whatever they want to do, you do it, then you bring it back to INEC when it's time for the election. So I agree with that. All right, another top trending story this morning says Faan to increase tariff, move to cashless payment system. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, Faan, has announced plans to increase tariffs for all airport service providers as part of efforts to boost revenue and modernize operations. The agency also plans to phase out cash payments, replacing them with a fully automated contactless system using airport-issued payment cards. Speaking at a stakeholders forum in Lagos, Faan officials emphasized that early notice would be given before tariff changes take effect. They also revealed plans to restructure lease agreements, roll out electronic cash registers, ECR, and upgrade toll gates and parking systems across airports nationwide. Faan's managing director, Olubumi Kuku, warned that car hire and bureau de change operators involved in touting would lose their licenses. She also pledged decisive action to remove tankers causing congestion at the Lagos airport, calling them a security threat and an eyesore to the airport environment. So we have to be paying more again, because the moment they increase the tariff for the service providers, who gets the brunt of it? The consumers. So definitely,
you get the brunt.
definitely, you know, everybody who's traveling now and you know, it has been said that, of course, flight fares are so expensive. So I can only imagine how much more will go on this.
So what's the max advantage of going cashless as it is? Because I remember that when you go to the airport, most times I don't book. I just go there and I'm like, I want to take a flight. Yeah. And then they tell you that, okay, because you're doing this, we are going to add XYZ amount of money. And then if you're paying cash, they say they don't accept it. But if they must accept, they add another one and all that. So what's the point? What's the point that you must?
So I feel like there needs to be an advantage to that, because I'll tell you what. Remember when the toll gate was still working, the Lekki Expressway, and there was a lot of congestion because obviously everybody's trying to get there. You have to stop and pay, and they made the other line. There was a I think about 1 or 2 lines whereby if you have a card, you've already, because I even had to register with them, you have your card, all you're just doing is you know, passing through, because there's a sticker on your car, so it scans the sticker and then they deduct the money.
What kind of queue do we have at the airport?
So that's what I'm saying. So there has to be, even if you're saying we want to go cashless, there has to be an incentive for people to say, yes, maybe I'm getting an advantage here, or maybe I have to get a discount or something. But if you're just going to tell me that you want to go cashless, why is that? And I understand that, you know, the world is moving. A lot of people don't even see cash as much, and they tell you how they want the economy or the entire Nigeria to be cashless. But even if you're going to
let it be my choice. Let it be my choice that this.
I think you're saying this because you're from a different generation.
no, not that. I like cashless, but if it is my choice to pay with cash, they shouldn't muzzle me into paying with electronic whatever. Maybe I have my reasons. Maybe I have whatever it is, crazy or not.
Because there might be an old woman in the village. I'll tell you, I don't understand what people are saying. I don't. There are people, sometimes you go into the market and they tell you, I don't have an account. You say, oh, can I transfer to you? So there are people like that.
Yeah. No, maybe the person is technologically savvy, but she doesn't just want it. Whatever reason, crazy reason it might be, let it be my choice. So if I want to go cashless now, and I know that it's easier because I don't have to carry those that cash, I don't have to pay too much tariffs and all that, I want to go cashless, it is my choice. But now I'm finding it difficult because I know that for every transaction, yesterday I was trying to make a withdrawal and they were asking me, this will involve 107 naira surcharge on you. I had no choice, I had to do it. So if I find that these small trimmings here and there are not to my advantage and I decide to do cash, let me be.
That's what I'm saying. I think, you know, they can give people options. Everybody wants, because nobody wants to feel like you don't want to feel like someone is twisting your arm and saying you have to make this choice. But if you give people options, like, okay, you can go for cash, but of course, when you go for cash, that means you have to pay XYZ.
Yes.
But if you're going cashless, you have discounts on certain things, and definitely people will definitely want to choose that. But if I know that you're still charging me the same, then what's the reason? Why do I have to go cashless?
Let it be my choice. As simple as that. But okay, let's see if we can take this final one. The House of Representatives has directed the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) to stop collecting the Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme (CISS) levy by June 30, 2025, declaring it illegal and not backed by any act of Parliament. Committee Chairman Leke Abejide emphasized that only the 4 free on-board levies legally recognized under the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023. During the 2024 budget review, lawmakers questioned why the service failed to fund personnel and capital projects despite exceeding its 5.08 trillion naira revenue target by generating 6.11 trillion naira. They also raised concerns about continued payments to web fronting despite NCS now handling most automation services internally. The Comptroller General Adewale Adeniyi acknowledged the controversy and said stakeholder sensitization is ongoing. However, lawmakers insisted that CISS must be abolished by June's end, warning that any further collection would lead to legal action. I don't know what they're saying. These are people that are giving outrageous targets to meet, you know, so the more wicked you are, the more money you make. That's the truth about it. So you're wicked, you're charging a lot of things legally or illegally, and then you're making the money and giving to the government. If they say they're still they're bringing in money and they're not funding capital projects or that. When they make this money, where does it go? So it goes to the federal government's coffers, and nobody says anything about it. And then you come back and ask them what they're doing with their money and all that. I don't really understand what's going on. If you give people a high target, they will cut corners to make sure this target is met. Because everybody wants to make a name and continue to be in service.
And remember when they increased the customs fee, I think twice in one day. Yeah, so you see that all the time, and you wonder when you get to the ports or whatever, you wonder, like, I've been to Apapa before. It's ridiculous.
Congested place.
There are tankers on the road. The roads are bad. You know, they don't do anything over there. All they're just trying to do is get money, and every time you're trying to, you know, ship something in, you sometimes even wonder which one is this levy again, which one is this fee again. It's just so many, and then obviously all the money goes to the federal government. So what infrastructure are they doing now? The reps are talking about it. They're ordering them, right? Okay, end the legal crisis levy, Ciss levy rather, or whatever. But when you're telling them to do that, how are they supposed to meet their target? That means they're going to increase other things just to bring that money to you. So what's going to happen? And then with the infrastructure, what's happening? Or are they going to say it has to be Lagos State because it's a Lagos State rule? What about the tariff
that they said they were going to abolish, at least for some time? It never happened.
The one for the food,
like
food
it never happened,
duty.
but nobody is saying anything because it's part of the money that is coming to the
And I think that was the food import duty was supposed to go for about 90 days, or I think 3 months or 6 months. I can't really remember. But guess what? It's been over 6 months, or the stipulated time they had said.
And
it's been over and nothing happened. So even if it was to happen, it would have happened and been long gone. Until now, it did not take flight. Well, Nigeria.
We hail thee.
We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be reviewing the papers, so please stay with us.